we have a very special guest with us today. This is Kate Eckman. Kate is the author of The Full Spirit Workout, a 10-step program, the 10-step system to shed your self-doubt, strengthen your spiritual core, and create a fun and fulfilling life. She is a broadcast journalist and TV personality who brings her expertise in communications, performance, and mindfulness to her practice as a success coach for business leaders and professional athletes. She earned a BA in communications from Penn State University, where she was an academic All-American swimmer and received her master's degree in broadcast journalism from Northwestern University's Medill School of Journalism. She graduated at the highest level from Columbia University's Executive and Organizational Coaching Program and is a certified ICF coach and a licensed NBI consultant. We will let her tell us a little bit more about what those acronyms are. She is passionate about mindfulness practices, both for body, brain, and body health. And she is also a meditation teacher and course creator for Insight Timer, the world's #1 ranked free meditation app. You can visit her online at kateeckman.tv and thefullspiritworkout.com. And that is the intro. And Kate, please take it away. We want to hear so much more about you and where you got started and how you got to be where you are today.
Oh, well, thank you guys. Thank you so much for having me. And, I had a 17-year competitive swimming career, so I have an athletic background, and I knew how hard I had to train my physical muscles to compete at a high level. And so as I went about my life, I had a forward-facing career and was on the hamster wheel in the rat race in New York City as a professional model and as a TV broadcast journalist and TV presenter. And I experienced outward success. And it was great. And I unfortunately lost not one, but 2 dear friends to suicide in 1 year. And it completely changed the whole trajectory of my life. And I knew my life depended on coming up with the keys to a better way of living. And that involved inner fitness and being emotionally and mentally and spiritually fit and strong and confident and resilient. Because as we've all learned, and have certainly experienced this past year and a half, the nonsense and chaos and sickness of the world is sadly not going anywhere. So it really is up to us to develop this inner musculature. I call it our attitudinal muscles. And so it was really important for not just me, but when I looked around, I saw so many others struggling too. And I really learned that all of us struggle with mental health in some capacity. All of us struggle with feeling confident in some area of our lives. And the sooner we can admit that and be honest about it and own that, the sooner we can, use these strategies and the exercises that I've outlined in this book to become the men and women who can actually achieve our cherished goals.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want to hear. It's exactly what I want to hear. This past year and a half has definitely, pushed our limits or pushed my limits. And so, I really love and appreciate, what it is that you have to offer. If you could talk a little bit more about your book and, in those steps, I think that our audience would benefit a lot from it. And selfishly, just talk to me. Talk to Dee Dee and we'll spread the word as well. But yeah, what is the secret sauce?
Well, the full spirit workout is a play on the full body workout that you often hear advertised at the gym, but it's also about bringing your full spirit, your authentic truth and power, your passion, your presence to everyone you meet and to everything that you do. It's showing up like you mean it. We're no longer sleepwalking through life. And as I like to say, it's not midnight yet, but it's 11:45. This era of ain't it awful, I'm not good enough. While I have compassion for it, and I certainly understand it because we've all been there, we really, if we can't do it for ourselves, we need to do it for our families or communities or causes and organizations greater than ourselves. And we really owe it to the world to identify and leverage our unique gifts and strengths. And that's why in this book, I have journaling exercises to get you really deep within yourself, to get to the root of the problem and discover who you are underneath all the labels and limitations. And then really spending a lot of time on our why. That's where research says all the motivation for change and to achieve our goals happens in the why. Why is this important to you? And spending a lot of time there, because that will keep you going when things get tough, when you want to throw in the towel, when people tell you you can't do it for whatever reason, you hold on to that strong why. For me, with this book, it was the 2 men I lost to suicide, and my commitment to them and everybody who struggles with mental health, which, like I said, is all of us. And so I do the journaling exercises. We do the meditations, which are all free on my website that you can listen to and go on that journey of self-discovery. And listen, I know that not everyone can afford executive coaching. So I do the Coach Kate check-ins, asking you the same questions I ask my clients. And then we end each step with the affirmation to really ground this wisdom into our bodies. And so that becomes our default setting rather than the I'm not good enough, I can't, who am I to do this? It's like, well, I'm doing it. So the imposter can go take several seats.
Yeah. And that's so generous of you. I really appreciate and, and honor those who, make sure that, everyone can be heard and everyone can have access to tools and to professionals such as yourself, even if they can't afford one-on-one. So that's, fantastic. And I wanted to recognize you for that. If you could talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you have had, throughout your career, where you are now, challenges that you face now, challenges that you have with your clients. I think that everyone, likes to kind of channel in and know that not everyone is perfect. So if you could share a little bit about that, that would be great if you could dive into that.
Yeah, everyone experiences struggle, and I'm certainly no different. And I think it's really important to get to know ourselves and others on a deeper level and ask more meaningful questions, and not just assume that the person on Instagram who appears to have it all going for them, and maybe they do, but that person still experiences sadness and anxiety and depression on some level. That person still has probably been through trauma. And I just think it's so important for us to be real with ourselves and others. As I say to my clients, this is a no pretend zone. And yes, I've experienced a lot of success and I've experienced a lot of failures. And I'm grateful for both. One is more uncomfortable than the other, but there's so much growth that happens in the setbacks. And I think then when you are experiencing that rejection, you just have to remember not to reject yourself. We get so upset when other people, be it personal or professional, person or client or friend, rejects us or overlooks us or criticizes us. But if we're honest with ourselves, we do that to ourselves all the time. So I think it's cleaning up our side of the street. But yeah, I'll be cruising right along with lots of clients, making great money, everything's going well, and then lose clients for whatever reason outside of my control. A company goes out of business, an organization is in COVID and doesn't have the extra cash for a coach or a speaker or something like that. And so it really is about getting creative, being curious, and it's always a good time to reinvent ourselves and think about what we can give rather than what we can get, and be in a place of wanting to offer service and value rather than just take. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, and what I'm hearing too is that, when you fall, it's all about getting back up, right? And taking those lessons and turning them around and making ourselves better. And that it's also about, the facts of what are happening in life, right? And then deciding whether or not we're going to change the narrative, right? We can dwell on the past, we can dwell on what happens, and there's time and space for that as well. We are human, but then we can choose to move forward in a positive way, in a fulfilling way, in a way that that changes the trajectory of who we're going to be and what we want. And so I really, resonate with, what you were talking about with the challenges. um Dee Dee, do you have anything to add on?
Yeah, no, I love what you have shared, Kate, especially when it comes to the setback. I heard this from another coach of mine who's the greatest speaker of all times. If you haven't heard of him, it's called Rex Kane, but he talked about the setback is an opportunity for a comeback. And I was like, yes, right. And I always speak about failure as feedback as well, because if we didn't have the failures that we have experienced, then we wouldn't have a way to really assess to see how we're doing, where we're going, if this is all really means anything to the whole picture and the vision of what we're trying to create. So let's switch gears a little bit, Kate. I would love to hear more about, especially from making that transition, and I get it because of your experience losing your friends, but I just want you to know too that I also lost one of my best friends to suicide as well. And just like you, I share the story that that was the moment when I realized was that I didn't need to do anything else. If I can teach one more person how to take care of herself and really believe that she is worthy of the life that she has, then that is the thing. So I so admire you for what you do, and just reminds me and affirms that this is where I need to be. So thank you for that message. And then ultimately, what I want to ask is that when it comes to mental health, there's so much out there. Right. There's so much about the conventional wisdom of how we should handle it and how we should do things. And there's a whole vast alternative, and there are different ways of handling certain conditions and such like that. What is your take on mental health, and from your experience doing what you do now related to that, was where do you see the future of mental health?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm sorry about your friend. And it's amazing how many people have been impacted by suicide. And, I say I never would say when I was younger, I'm going to grow up and be a suicide prevention activist and speak publicly about mental health. But here I am, and here you are, and I'm honored to do the work. And it's hard and it's heartbreaking, and a lot of people don't want to talk about these things. I don't know about you, but I've even been in conversations, people just shut it down, and it's like, oh, be happy, be grateful, let it go. And it's become really toxic. And even psychologist Susan David termed this whole toxic positivity that our culture has done. And our culture is very harmful to our mental health, because it's this hustle culture and always be busy and work and pack your schedule, achieve, accomplish. And then you get burned out or overwhelmed or exhausted. And then the guilt of taking time off, even an hour, or, canceling a meeting for your own well-being, or going on vacation, or just taking that break. And so we all really need to be conscious and deliberate and intentional about unplugging from that societal standard that none of us should even be subscribing to, and come up with our own way of being, and come up with our own standards for living, redefining success and what it means to be beautiful and wealthy, and really coming up with your own terminology. And the way that you do that is to spend quiet time alone by yourself, which also sounds horrifying to most people. Yes, I mean, turning off the phone and the devices and the TV and the news and the everything. And I get mothers and people are busy and got pets and kids and spouses. You need, even if it's 5 minutes a day. And I do it, I call my sit and stare time, and really check in and reflect and process. There's so much to process right now, and we have to give ourselves that time and space. And we have to be able and willing to let somebody down and disappoint them, to set a healthy boundary for ourselves. And it's hard for me. I'm not pretending to be a pro. It is a practice, like exercise or anything else. It is a practice, because you see it. You don't get great feedback when you say to the person, hey, I'm unavailable, I need to reschedule this meeting. People don't like it. You don't get great feedback when you say, I'm taking a mental health day and I'm not available for this meeting for a month. People are like, who does she think she is to be busy, to prioritize her well-being, to say no to me? So I get it why it's hard for us, especially as women, but that is the challenge. That is the invitation. I'm no longer willing to go to a dark place to appease this person, impress this person, or whatever. My mental health has to come first. And in terms of where I see it going, I think there's been, on one hand, tremendous growth when you see huge stars like Simone Biles or Naomi Osaka speaking so publicly on the massive platform that is the Olympics. But what did they get? They got a lot of ridicule, especially from people with no athletic talent who wanted to criticize them. And then what are they? They're women, and they're women of color. Ooh. So again, it really is an inside job, and up to us to block out all that noise, to truly not care what the masses are saying, and really cultivate and create that own mentality and that own place of health and wealth within ourselves.
100%. I so believe in all and everything that you said. In my personal journey too, I knew that I couldn't perform at the level that I want to when I'm not well. Just, I mean, the simple example could be that, like, imagine, and you are entrepreneurs listening, when you have a good night of sleep, what's the quality of your decision making versus when you had 3 hours of sleep? What's the energy level do you have in handling your day-to-day operation when you're energized versus when you're tired? Not to even mention when you're sick, right? And so what you're saying is 100% what is so important that everyone needs to be aware of. And it's all about setting boundaries. And I love the enthusiasm and the power and the energy that when you're speaking about that, it's like truly owning it. And it's like, we don't need permission to take care of ourselves. Like, when is that even a thing? Like, we don't need permission for that. But I feel like for most, like you said, we're so bombarded with like all the information, overstimulated. This is what it's supposed to look like on all of the things. So then they are not listening to themselves. So I so love what you have to share and what you're teaching to your clients and what you do. And ultimately, like being a performer, yourself, like, what it's like with all the pressures to perform, like to do great and to, you have to practice, to hustle and like whatever it takes. But at some point, whatever it takes means self-care.
Yeah, and as you're speaking, what's coming to me is I think of, the skill I had to compete as a swimmer for 17 years, the stroke technique and the skill and training twice a day, 5 days a week, and training 6 days a week, year round, and all of that. And when I think of the meets where I performed at my absolute best, they were the summer invitational, where long course, where I'm in heat 14 of the 400 free, nobody cares. I'm like sunbathing before the event and just having fun and enjoying the company of my teammates and meeting new people from around the country who are at this big invitational, and just in that light and fluffy fun and enjoying the sport for what it is place. And I would swim and perform, compete out of my mind. And then I'd get to nationals with the stress and the pressure and the expectation, and you have to do this and you have to do that. And I wouldn't do half as well. And what that says to me is that we're putting so much stress and pressure on ourselves and judgment and taking it on from others as well, where we all could stand to be more playful, get back to basics. Why am I even swimming in the first place? It was fun. I enjoyed it. I got to be a teammate and make friends. And when you're in that place, look at the results. And that's true, whatever your job is. And it especially applies to entrepreneurship. It's like, why did we even start this business in the first place? And getting back to that rather than, I have to, what do you hear online? Oh, your 6-figure month and blah, blah, blah. That's great. I love money as much as the next person. We all need it. We all like nice things, but at what cost? And why are you really doing this? So these are moments to really take that time for ourselves. And I love that fun is in the subtitle of my book. I think we all could be having so much more fun. I'm guilty of this. I'm a fun person who has not had much fun the last couple of years in the name of achievement. COVID has affected all of us, of course, but I'm becoming super aware, and I'm having to be really strict with myself, because I see myself next week when I'm supposed to be on vacation, putting meetings into my calendar. And I'm like, stop doing that. And it is a symptom of our hustle culture and FOMO. And I have to be available. And I'm like, you can talk to them in a month, whenever, right? And letting that be okay and letting it be enough.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I love it. I think if anything, I want to broadcast this segment everywhere and anywhere. And yes, women, especially entrepreneur working moms, need to hear this.
Yeah.
And, you know, coming from you, it's so relevant because you know what it's like to have to train and hustle and all of the things. And there's a comparison story to when you are having fun versus when you had to do the thing. And it's interesting, right? Like whether it's swim, whether it's entrepreneurship and things like that, you know, life and whatever it is we do is a sport, but it has to really start with the passion and the fun that comes with it. Just like, you know, I have to love my business. I have to believe in what I do for me to be able to move forward. And so if you have the last tip for us women and mompreneurs of the one thing that we can really do to take care of our mental health, of course, amongst everything that you have shared so far, what is like the must do, like non-negotiable for us women?
Well, if you're a mom, first of all, you're my superhero. I don't know. And then how you look like you do, I'm like, wow, you like showered and brushed your hair and put on makeup, got dressed. Great job. You're my hero. You know, I think about that every time when I worked at the TV, any live TV situation. And some nights I'd walk into the studio or some early mornings and I would think, I am so tired. And I'd get to the ops desk and there I worked with this woman, Khadijah, who had 4 children under the age of 4. And I'd walk in and I'd see Khadijah and I'm like, I'm fine. I'm not tired, you know? And so moms, same on an airplane. I'm like, I'm so tired. I want to take this flight. And there's some cute mom walking in with the kids who are screaming and throwing stuff. And I'm like, I'm fine. Can I help you? I'm so sorry. Like I bow down to you, you know? So if you're a mother, you literally are my superhero. I don't think even enough love or attention is given to mothers and their superpower. And that brings me to, just something I'm called to say. And I love it because it's on my necklace and my necklace says, you are powerful. And it's a reminder for myself when I look in the mirror and everyone I come into contact with, they read this, you are powerful. And I want them to take that in. And especially if you are a mom, you're so powerful. You know, you can do whatever you decide is important enough. And I think the time is now to really believe that and start to, like I said, identify and leverage those gifts and those strengths and think about what you can give rather than what you can get. I know you're already in that space as a nurturing mother. But I think taking that time out and I really truly invite you to do at least 5 minutes a day of that sit and stare and turn off all the noise and, you know, shut your door and really give yourself that gift of time and space and grace and peace and make it a practice, make it as much a part of your day as eating and sleeping. And you'll start to see the benefits and you'll start to get those divine downloads and that intuitive hits and that inspiration to call the person and ask to collaborate or call the person and ask to take the kids tonight and go and have a date night with your partner or a date night with yourself or just get some rest, whatever it is, but start being more intentional and deliberate and conscious with your everyday decision making.
Yeah. And what I also hear is that, you know, it's about changing the way we think into positive thinking, right? That taking this time, whether it's 5 minutes or your vacation, you know, things can wait. It does not have to, you know, we don't have to think of, you know, time that we are not spending on ourselves as catastrophic. You know, things are going to happen whether we are, you know, taking care of ourselves or not. And, you know, and so changing that and doing that mind shift, you know, like you talk about is incredibly important. And so changing verbiage, which I really appreciate. And I hear you talking about, you know, is extremely powerful. And I thank you for that.
That's so amazing. Yes, Kate, I think I have enough juice for the day and for the rest of the month, I feel like.
I love it.
Like I'm gonna just like, I am powerful. And ultimately that is basically what is the belief we all need to hone in. Ultimately, I believe. And so thank you so much for the work that you do, who you are. You radiate all of that, like love, compassion, self-care, power, and you know, being unapologetic in asking for and doing what it is that you do. And so I so appreciate what you do, Kate. And I know you're really, creating the waves in your worlds. Now you get to affect our world. And so collectively we get to shine, we get to do what we love, we get to make that difference and create that impact in the world. And so much love for you, and thank you for what you do, and thank you for your time. I'm honored to have you here. And I know the audience, I mean, I felt it from all the way over here, so I know they are going to receive all of your love and passion and energy as well. So thank you so much. And keep on rocking it out. It's what I got to tell you. So thank you a million.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you both, and so delighted to be here. And thanks to your audience for listening. I appreciate all of you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kate.